All right, guys, here we go. Episode 2 of Mac and Smitty. And this is what we said. The first episode was going to be a little different, okay? We were out at the UFL. We were out in Texas working out, just kind of telling you about ourselves, our journey into fitness and who we are. But now, this is the meat and the potatoes. So we're going to have the Summer of Strength, a mini series where we go through the ACC and talk with some of our favorite strength coaches. I cannot wait for this. It's going to be a ton of fun. Appreciate you guys coming along this journey with us. And who else better to start with than our guy, Coach Thunder from NC State. Ike, I know you love this cat.
Let's go, man. Yes, sir. So NC State, Wolfpack in the house. As you can see, Swole Patrol always representing. So like we said, this one's near and dear. We were in Texas last week. Now we're a little closer to home. I've been in Raleigh for the last, 14 years. NC State alumni, like I previously mentioned. So who better else, like E said, to start it off than Coach Thunder?
Coach Thunder, brother, great to see you. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited about today. Listen, it's summertime. You've got track meets to get to. What's going on? What's in your world right now?
So right now, I just actually came back from Georgia on yesterday. I went down to Georgia, Warner Robins, Georgia, to see my family, to see my mom, my sisters and brothers, and a few of my friends and stuff like that. Came back yesterday morning because I knew I had to get back. I had to actually have a presentation I had to do for recruiting visits. And then on tonight, we'll be hitting the road, heading down to Wilmington because my kids have a track meet on tomorrow. So a lot of traveling, just very busy right now, to say the least.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How long have your children been running track? I know they're pretty active with, obviously playing football and everything.
Yeah, so this year is their first year actually running track. They've done soccer. They've done flag football. My wife, she was finally cool with getting them involved with tackle football, my two boys.
All right.
Yeah, she cheered for their team, so it was pretty cool. But I was busy every day after work, and then after all games, I was heading over to their games, and vice versa. So it was a busy year for me last year. It'll be the same, going into this summer as well.
What are they running? What events are they doing for track?
So both my boys are doing the 100, the 200, and they're gonna do the broad jump.
So they got some
Nice.
speed and explosiveness, huh? Come on.
Most definitely. And then my baby girl, she's doing the 200, and she's going to do the broad jump as well. So some little athletes.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. Now, obviously, with their dad being the head strength coach at NC State, what are you doing? How are you balancing being coach, being dad? Obviously, they're running track. Are you doing anything to prep them physically for their sport, or are you just kind of letting them enjoy it and have fun?
Well, I allow them to enjoy it and have fun. But once they get to their season, I try to step away and be out of the way a little bit as much as possible. I'm just, more than anything, I assist in whatever way possible. But during the off season, it's typically when I have them, before they started track, I had them out in the garage doing some training. I have a speed treadmill. So they get on the speed treadmill. I have the Sorenex racks in my weight room at home.
Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty cool. We have all kind of tools to actually develop their legs, and we do a lot of jump training also. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be a dad and have a chance to actually develop them. And they understand that I am a strength coach. I do know what I'm doing. I have some really good pointers, so they listen.
Yeah, you have just a couple of NFL dudes to point to and say, hey, look, it works. Listen to me. I can get you kind of squared away here. Coach, let's go back all the way to the beginning, man. How did this become a thing for you? You were an unbelievable player at NC State, and you've been an unbelievable strength coach. But just how did you get started? Where did this all kind of come from?
Well, I've always loved, strength and conditioning, actually training. My uncles were both in the military, so they were big into weightlifting. And one of my uncles bought me a weight set when I was like 13. And so I had it in my shed, and I always lift weights. I was strong coming out of high school. I actually won our Iron Eagle Award 2 years in a row at my high school. I was the first guy to ever do that. So my junior and senior year, then coming here to NC State, loved the weight room. I think I came in as a freshman. I benched 405. By the time I left, I benched 515, squatted 675. So I was a very strong dude. But I guess it comes from doing all those push-ups and things like that as a kid. Once I got released from the Steelers, I came back and I was personal training at a gym. I went into this gym and just started training just to stay in shape. And the owner came by. He was like, man, everyone is coming up to you asking you things about strength and conditioning. Have you ever thought about personal training? So I told him, yeah, I might as well do it. I'm up here all the time. And it was, a way to make some money in between that time of training camp and things like that. And so once I got released from the Steelers, I came back and Coach Amato offered me an opportunity to be an intern on the football team in the weight room and on the field. So I worked with the linebackers. I was in the weight room. I was a captain here. So it was an easy transition. And then once I got allocated to NFL Europe from the Steelers, I decided I didn't want to go to Europe. I got offered a position as a grad assistant. I jumped on that, man, and got my master's. And then Coach O'Brien came in and he hired me on full time. So it's a pretty cool journey.
Obviously, with the strength and conditioning at the collegiate level, and I'm only speaking from outside looking in, do you feel like every coach has a unconventional route? I mean, obviously you had aspirations to play in the NFL and one thing led to the next. Did you ever think playing in college that you would end up being a collegiate strength and conditioning coach?
I did. I always enjoyed, training and being in the weight room. And I knew it was going to be a situation where either I was going to be a linebacker coach or I was going to be strength and conditioning. And my high school coach actually offered me a job to come back to my high school and be a linebacker coach and be the strength coach. So it was one of those things I just felt like God was going to lead me down this path eventually. I knew I'm one of those guys. It's cool to have a position group, but when you're the strength coach, you're not offense or defense. You have your hands on all of them.
That's right.
So I just felt like it was one of those paths that God pushed me down, and I feel like it was one of the best things I could have ever done. Oftentimes, it's pretty crazy. Oftentimes, you don't see a lot of strength coaches that were typically really pretty good at their sport, and they get into actually strength and conditioning. Typically, if they're really good at their sport, they actually become position coaches and things like that. And I've seen a lot of strength coaches who oftentimes either you've been a walk-on or you was a guy that really didn't play a whole lot because you were really good in the weight room or whatnot. And so my path was a little different. It's pretty cool because the guys respect knowing that I played the game and played at a high level, was a 4-year starter here at NC State. So it just gives me a little bit more credibility as it pertains to them listening and the buy-in factor and things like that. So
that is a great point, and you're absolutely right. You do typically see those high-level dudes just go right into coaching, and I love that you're on this side. I love that you're on the strength side because it's fun to relate, and you've seen a lot of different things. You've done a lot of different things, which I know those young men truly value, and these coaches truly value your insight there as well. One thing that I was thinking about, Coach, when you were going back and forth on all these crazy numbers that you're throwing around, what was your favorite movement back in the day? And then how about now as a coach? It can be an exercise, a movement, a lift, whatever. What's kind of your favorite now?
I mean, as a player, I love to bench. I think I was a really, really good bencher. I'm strong. I'm still pretty strong on the bench press still to this day, but I always explain to the guys that I do just as much pulling and rowing, just so that I have a strong back, strong shoulders, which is going to actually help out with my bench as well. But as a strength coach, exercise that I really like and I feel like you get a really good bang for your buck would be the clean and the different variations of the clean. And I only say that because, I can do a clean pull, I can do a power clean, I can do a clean and press, a clean and jerk, I can do a clean and do front squats. And so it allows me to get a really good bang for my buck. And here at NC State, we do a really good job of just implementing a lot of those different variations into our training. Depending on what time of year, you can go clean from a box above the knee, below the knee. You can do a clean deadlift, in which I love doing those. So I would say the clean and its different variations would be the exercise. If I had one exercise that I can use to develop the athlete, that would be it.
That's awesome. And I do think, from your social media presence, when I'm looking what you post on your account and everything, I'd say you're probably one of the most thorough coaches that I've seen who's able to, take a technical movement like a clean. Obviously, you're not really doing too much jerk, even though you do kind of have the landmine jerks and things like that. But just how you are very descriptive in your caption and able to break it down step by step, because that's not something you're going to expect everybody to come in freshman year and be able to, get it right the first time. How difficult do you find it to be to instruct the clean to someone who's never done it before, or who is like, you have to deconstruct their technique and build them right back up the proper way?
For me, I feel like it's not a really hard exercise to actually teach. You got to have patience and you got to understand teaching progressions. I think a lot of times strength coaches, they want to rush the process and they want to go from A to Z so fast instead of actually breaking it down. And so I have so many different programs that we have here at NC State, from our intro program to developmental program. We have a progressive program, our travel squad, and all the different position groups in those programs. So we have different variations that we'll use during different times of the season. So teaching a top-down approach, a bottom-up approach, and it goes back to, like you mentioned, I'm really big on technique. I really do feel like one of the reasons why I didn't last at the next level, my body was beat up. My knees were sore, patella tendonitis from bad squat patterns. I used to actually catch the bar in my hands, and so everybody had their wrists taped up. And so my strength coach, it was all about getting a number. And so I think that was one of the things that pushed me into the direction of wanting to become a strength coach. And so the guys know I dislike bad technique. I can spot bad technique from a mile away. When I do believe in treating each and every one of the guys as individuals. And so my thing is, if they can't do it clean, why would I have a kid do it clean? There's so many different variations. We'll do clean pulls. We do trap bar power shrugs. I do push jerk. I push press. I do enjoy using the landmines. I think it's one of those tools that you can use to actually get some triple extension and actually save the guys from beating up their shoulders as well. So my thing is using a multifaceted approach to development and not just being a one-trick pony. Of course, I love my Olympic movements, but I always tell guys I'm not an Olympic strength coach. I'm a strength coach that believe in using all the tools in my tool belt.
That's right. Yeah, you're training weapons every single day that go out there and hope to do some mass destruction. I love what you said there, though, about the individual coaching and the tailor-made lifting, because we're too smart nowadays, right? Like all this technology that we have, all this science that we have, we can't just think that it's so cookie cutter. And I love that you are absolutely not doing that, that you're making it for each guy, because ultimately that's how you get the most out of everybody, right? And the ways that you can, fully get people to develop and get explosive and fast and strong, all these different things. So I truly love that. One thing that you kind of mentioned when you were talking about the different cleans and when and how you'll do them is based on timing and when you're actually doing it. So you guys are entering the summer phase right now. My personal favorite when I was a player, because we can get nasty, we can get fast, we can get big, and then we're going to shred it all off in fall camp. What is your approach to summer? What does summer look like for you guys at NC State?
So for me, I believe in once the season is over with, when we start the winter program, that's when we believe in rebuilding the car, rebuilding the engine. So we're going to do more volume in the weight room because they've gone through a whole season. As you guys know, when you go through a season, I can't do a whole lot of volume on my main exercises because otherwise you're going to fry them. And so once we get into winter conditioning, it's more volume. We're doing metabolic workouts. It's more speed training twice a week, and then COD in preparation for team runs. Coach Dorn is big into doing team runs and shared adversity. And so because I understand that allows me to get guys bigger in the winter. So hypertrophy, time under tension, more volume. Once we get into spring ball, I actually move away from doing back squats and I actually front squat. I firmly believe that my front squat feeds into my clean pattern. It feeds into my back squat. And if you can front squat, you should be able to back squat. And it doesn't work inversely. And so once we get into spring ball, it's total body training exercises. And then once we get to the summer, as you know, it's less volume in the weight room, but it's more volume outside, because I got to get these guys prepared for the rigors of their sport, fall camp, and then a long season. So being in shape is very important. So for us, we have 2 speed days and 2 COD days. But one of the COD days being on Friday, there's always going to be a team run no matter what time of the year, winter or summer. Coach Dorn, we're going to do team runs. And so once I get into that second phase of the summer is when we'll start to pick up more conditioning, more things like that to get these guys in shape. But I do look at NC State as being a developmental program. And because of that, we have to use that winter phase to get guys bigger, pack on the lean muscle mass, and then once we go through spring ball to see how they carry their weight, then we can trim them down, and I can really be very dialed in on what specifically we want those guys to work on, especially after seeing those guys go through the team runs, going through winter conditioning, the mat drills, and then, of course, spring ball. And so summer training is fun for me. I get to really push them. I get to hold them to the standard. It's shared adversity. In the winter, during the summer is the time of year when we actually have the whole side of the ball in the weight room. Right. So it's the whole offense or the whole defense. When we're in winter training, I have all my bigs get in. They have to get in early. Train those big guys early, get them up, get those guys training. Then we have our big skill, and then our skill guys. Once we get into spring ball, we will go offense and defense because we do have meetings. But summertime is go time. They know I'm dialed in on a lot of things, and I get to push buttons to push those guys out of their comfort zones. Summer training is always fun.
And that's good to know that, because that was going to be my next question. Is like, obviously, you're transitioning into the summer, and you mentioned that you got more time in the field, of course, preparing them for the season. But it's good to know you are still on them, and even more excited, it may seem, being able to push them, even though it's not necessarily in the weight room with the weights in their hands, but it's just you're able to see a different side of them. And like you said, the biggest thing is pushing them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, and so the cool thing about the summer, once we transition out of that winter and that spring phase, we're looking for more strength gains also. So we're pushing heavier weights in the summer. So we're looking to try to get them much stronger. In the winter, it's volume, it's hypertrophy, getting the muscles bigger. Then once we get into the summer, we're looking for those strength gains. So
Right.
we're lifting heavier weights, but outside, it's going to be more conditioning, more reps on the change direction stuff. It's more volume outside. So everything is inversely related.
Yeah, and Coach, I think what's fascinating is things have changed a little bit. So I would like to hear kind of what the differences are maybe in the past 2-3 years, because the football coaches are allowed to be out there some now. Before, as everything you just mentioned, it was just me and you, and that we got after it. And honestly, we spend more time with you guys anyway from a
Most
whole
definitely.
standpoint of us being there. But, how is summer from that aspect maybe changed in how you guys do things, or what that really looks like?
So it's changed a lot, and I've been here at NC State as a strength coach going on 22 years and 26 years overall with being a strength coach and a player. But I remember back in the day, it was actually player ran practice on Wednesdays. It was like your PRP things. And then once Coach Dorn took over, we had PRPs on Wednesdays. So we would have a speed day, a COD day, and then the guys would do their football stuff on Wednesday, and then we would go out and have a speed or conditioning day on Thursday. Then Friday would be a team run. So a lot of that stuff changed once they started allowing coaches to be more hands-on. And so what I started to see was our guys were actually working 6 days out of the week. We had them 4 days. They were doing their PRP player ran practice, and our guys always come in on Saturday. So I used to have to tell guys, Sunday has to be a day off. You cannot train. And so I always tell guys, mixed programs will give you mixed results. So I had to learn how to pull back once they started to allow the coaches to be more involved. And so I think 2 years ago, and even last year on Wednesday, that was like our Indy PRP type day, because they were allowed to go out there and do football stuff. And because of that, I can only use my guys and only train them outside on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, because they were already going on Wednesday. So Thursday was a total body training session, but we didn't take them outside and run, because otherwise you're just burning up the candle. And so we've done a really good job of just changing some things. Coach Dorn started doing more OTAs, walkthroughs, and things like that. And so this year we're going to have a chance to actually get all 4 days of running back with the players, because they're only going to do a walkthrough on Wednesday. So my thing is for everything you add in, you got to be willing to take something out. And because the coaches had those guys for Indy and the PRP type stuff, I considered that a COD day. So it's like, why do I need to have a COD day when they're going to go out there and have another COD and Indy day with the football coaches? I just didn't want to put guys in a position to overtrain them, knowing that my goal is to get them through the season and get them to the season healthy. I like to tell people we're not just strength coaches, but we're managers of stress and fatigue. And the more you can manage stress and fatigue, help these guys stay healthy, the better chance you have at getting to that ACC championship and being successful.
On that point of managing stress and fatigue, that's a fantastic way to look at it, because I feel like, obviously as young athletes, they want to push. And sometimes with the clients I'm working with, they're just like, I feel good, coach, let me go. And I'm like, well, I get that you feel great right now, but we got to think longevity, right? So how does that, switch from winter, spring, summer to a maintenance period during the fall, of course, as the season starts? And then not only are you worrying about player fatigue, maybe kind of from the summer, but as the fatigue increases from the season itself.
So the thing that I enjoy doing here as a strength coach, like I said, we're managers of stress and fatigue. So I believe in using periodization. Back in the day, my strength coach, man, we start the summer out, it's 7 sets of 10 and it's straight volume and it's just linear periodization. And so by the time you get to the end of the summer, you're like, man, we've done 30-some 110s. I've done 1,000,000 reps in the rack and on bench, and now my body is fried because we didn't do any kind of recovery stuff. So my thing is teaching them what our periodization is. Is it a medium week, a medium heavy week, a deload week, a heavy week? They will understand that. And so I put together a whole phase schedule to help them understand what we're trying to achieve for that week. Now, if it's a deload week, we're doing a lot of rate of force development, accommodating resistance with bands and chains. We're lowering the weight, but I'm looking for those guys to move the weight fast. On a heavy week or medium heavy week, they're going to have some AMAP sets to allow them to get a new training max, and that allows those guys to continue to develop but also not overtrain. So once we get into fall camp, it's much different from the way it was when I played. I mean, when I played, there were 2-a-days, and sometimes we had 3-a-days because we had a special team practice.
Good old 3-a-days. Hey, praise the Lord, I never had any of those. Golly.
I tell these guys all the time how blessed they are, and I wish I had it the way we have it now. So we'll actually train throughout the week. They're with us every single day because they only practice once a day. So, of course, we may train 3 times out of the week during fall camp, but 2 of those days, one day will be a corrective recovery day, and then the other day will be massage. We do yoga, we do massages, all those things. Once again, helping the coaches understand periodization also. Typically, we'll go 3 days in a row, and then coach has it built in for those guys to be off the field, trying to think long term. And I think that COVID year taught us a whole lot.
Sure.
You don't have to do so much. Oftentimes you go out in the fall camp and it's like a bloodbath, man. You're out there getting beat up and you're out there for 24, 26 periods and you're like, man, everybody's banged up. Yeah, because we've been banging for multiple days and now we're trying to get to game day and you don't have a whole lot of bodies. And so we've done a really good job of being on the same page with Coach Dorn, helping them understand how to periodize practice. And he does a phenomenal job of being on the same page with us and our Pack Performance Group. The science piece has changed the game with the catapult data and all the analytics. We do hydration tests. We check body weights every single day, twice a day, in the morning, at the end of training. So they have 2 checkpoints that they must go through when they enter the building. The first thing is checking their body weight. If they're 2.5% or higher, they can't train or practice for the day. So the next checkpoint, they must go eat breakfast. Once they eat breakfast, they must come back down and reweigh. And then we have a lot of people in that Pack Performance Group just to make sure, once again, guys are where they need to be so that they can practice. Once we get into the season, the training is, once again, is 14 to 16 weeks, with your bye weeks are still periodized in. So once again, medium heavy, deload heavy. My deload weeks oftentimes are predicated off who we're going to play. If I know we're going to be playing a team that's going to run like 100 and some plays, like Syracuse, it's like, you know what, or Clemson, whenever we played Clemson, we always tried to make sure we would deload against Clemson, knowing we want those guys to be fresh. Those heavier weeks, and when I say heavier weeks, it's relative to where we at in that progression, in that periodization or that phase. So, but I believe in using a lot of accommodating resistance once we get to the season, using chains, using bands. We may get up to 90% or 95% by the time we get to the end of the season, but it's going to be 70, 75% of bar weight. So it's going to be 90, 95 at the top. Once I lower the weight down, it's 70, 75% at the bottom. Now I spike the nervous system. We had guys hitting PRs at the end of the season on their velocities. PRs on their velocities, guys' vertical jumps went up during the season, but that just goes back to understanding training, understanding periodization. My travel squad guys, once I get into the season, the first 4 weeks I may do power cleans, but it's light. But then I phase away from doing a lot of Olympic movements. If I'm going to do anything, it's going to be clean pulls. Mm-hmm. We use Vertimax a lot. We use Performax bands for jump training. So the training changes a little bit, especially for the travel squad. Now, for my developmental squad, they're going through, it's like off-season program. It's an off-season program for them, and it's amazing to see their bodies change, and some guys get so much better because they're going through pretty much 2 off seasons. It's 2 8-week programs. by the time they get to the end of the season, they're excited about graduating and going into the regular population.
Yeah, but that's what it takes, and that's kind of that's why you are where you are. And I think the best thing that my strength coaches did, and I know you guys do the same thing, is we're going to be real and we're going to be transparent about where you are. There's a reason that you were put in this developmental group, and let's get out of it. Let's work our way out of it, and that's what you have the opportunity to do. Coach, there was so much right there. I'm gonna let Ike ask about your playing days in a second and how technology has changed and what that'd be like for you. But you referenced all kinds of technology right there when you were saying it. How has, I guess, that transition been as we are getting smarter and as we are looking at data and have all these different things to track, from hydration to power output to weight, all these things? There's a million different things. How have you, I guess, molded your stuff around seeing that? And was that difficult? Back in your day and our day, it was work harder. You're tired, work harder. And now it's like, let's look at this stuff and let's work smarter.
Well, I think I did a really good job of embracing change. I'm one of those guys, I dislike being put in a box. I always say the only way you're going to learn how to be out of the box, you got to learn how to master the box. So my thing is master things that I'm good at, but always working on continuing education so that I can grow and evolve. That's one of the things that my staff and I do year round. We're doing continuing education with PowerPoint presentations, all these different things to make sure we're on that constant quest for knowledge and trying to be cutting edge. Now, with being cutting edge, my thing is sticking to my philosophy of understanding the ground up development, making sure I'm using periodization, I'm using the science, and then also using some of the old school training tools that still are needed in this new day and age. Oftentimes you see young professionals, man, they see all these things on social media and it's like, we got to do this, we have to do that. And you're like, well, why? Can you explain the progressions and regressions to it? And so my thing is once again, just using the science, continuously trying to evolve and gain information, going to Summer Strong so I can learn from other people. I believe in dropping videos. I put stuff out often throughout the season, during the off season. I tell guys all the time, I look at myself as an educator. I'm not just a strength coach or meathead strength coach, but I'm a guy, I'm a leader, I'm an educator, and then I'm a strength coach third. And so having guys that are different around you is very important. I'll point that out as well. My thing is you want to have some guys that are very similar to you, but also having guys in your circle that are different and can give you different perspective. I don't like everyone to agree with everything I'm saying, because once you have a bunch of guys agreeing with everything you're saying, you're going to stop growing. And I tell my staff all the time, either you're growing or you're dying. So trying to embrace those things. I tell my staff, each and every one of us have to bring 3 topics to the table as it pertains to strength and conditioning, nutrition. And we've actually done presentations on Ramadan. We've had a few guys that have been Muslims. And so my thing is understanding how to serve those young men. And it's awesome just to gain so much knowledge and to actually be able to provide information to our players, because everyone has a cell phone and everyone has Instagram and Google and YouTube. And so they get on that phone and they start strolling and they're looking at stuff. And my thing is to help them understand why we do what we do and why we wouldn't do certain things. And it's amazing how in this new day and age, they all want to ask the question, why? When we played EMAC and, we played back in the day, you asking why? Like, no.
How many? It was just how many. That was it.
Back on the line, keep going. But my thing is helping them understand why, because it allows them to embrace the process and take ownership of it as well.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. And that's one thing I like to say too, is like, just because I'm in the position or, you've labeled me as your coach or things like that, doesn't mean that what I say goes, right? I want you to not necessarily fight me, but, inquire, because then that also allows me to, like you said, further educate you on, the reason why we're doing certain things and help you kind of understand, once again, the long haul and kind of how we plan to get you to this goal and, make sure we do it the right way and it's sustainable. So,
yeah, I love when our players actually, when the light bulb goes off in that aha moment, oh, that's why we do that. You're exactly right. So yeah, we're not doing that type of jump training right after spring ball because we just came out of spring ball. So we're going to do this type of jump training. And if you're doing that type of jump training, you're going to have patella tendonitis, you're going to have foot issues and all these different things. And it's amazing when you have guys that have been in the program for 1, 2, 3 years. They know the program inside and out. They can explain to the newcomers. They can explain to the young guys. And I actually have a bunch of demo guys, which I love having a bunch of demo guys in the rooms. It's a great thing, man.
I love it. I love it. And I know, Coach, you mentioned, you're a four-time starter here, late 90s, early 2000, team captain, and kind of touching back on all the, advancements in technology and things like that. Well, I mean, technology and just access to so much information on social media. But playing to that technology part, how do you think your playing days would have been different had you had access to certain things that you're able to utilize nowadays, like the catapult GPS and things like that?
Man, it would have been completely different. Oh, my God.
He would have been mentioned 600 years old.
I remember, like I said, even during the season, I mean, we would do mat drills on Monday night. So the mat drills, the wave drills, Monday night, yes. So they gave us Sunday off, and we had to come over and do mat drills, and then we went out and we had like a run-through, walk-through type deal. And so I remember I used to be so tired because the whole day was just packed with had to get up and go check in. You had to go to breakfast, and we practice at night. This new day and age, we practice in the morning. So at 11:30, they are done. They're done being a football player. They get to be regular student athletes, and so they come back. We actually have to kick the guys out of the building because they have so much free time. We would get off the field around 6:30 or something like that. Then you had to go eat dinner, but then you had study hall from 7:30 to 9:30. Sometimes I didn't get back to my room until almost 10 o'clock. And so it was a long day. And as you guys know, these young men, they stay up all night. They don't sleep. A lot of them walk around dehydrated. And so we have tools that allow us to test their hydration levels. The guys wear the watches to do. We do all kind of sleep studies. I mean, there's so many different things that we use, from force plates to NORD boards to test their hamstrings. I mean, Phillip Rivers, him and his son, they came by a few weeks ago, and he was blown away just hearing me talk about how advanced things are in the strength and condition realm, because he spent a lot of time in the weight room like I did around our strength coaches, because we spend the most time with the guys. And he was just completely blown away with the science and with all the things we do to evaluate all guys and make sure they're at their peak performance as it pertains to getting ready for game day.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy new world that we're in. But again, you're a leader in the clubhouse, and you adjust accordingly. And I love the way you do things. Coach, a couple more for you, and we really are grateful for your time. One thing that I'm always so blown away with every time you allow us to come and train at the Murph is just how well put together it is, how good it looks, but also the flow. Like it makes sense how you guys kind of did things. What was that process like? Because it's been a couple years now, but building that, designing that, getting all that in there. How was that for you, and how'd you go about that?
Oh, it was one of the best things that I had a chance to be a part of, to be honest. Going down to Sorinex and spending time with the whole family, the whole crew down there, and it was amazing how they put together a rendering. And it's crazy how we actually started that process maybe around 2019 or 2018. Yeah, around 2018, 2019, and then COVID hit. And so because of COVID hit, everything was frozen. They weren't spending any money, all those things. So we had to wait for a few years before they can actually start that project. And then it was amazing how once we came out of COVID, had a really good year. The AD, he was like, let's start that process of getting this weight room put together. And the cool thing is that I had already had all my renderings. I had everything put together. All the thing was just sending it through the proper channels to get the process going. And so once Sorinex came in, they came in and they put together a really good looking weight room for us. Of course, my ideas. I'm big on sight lines and the view and just the flow of the room. Really big on flow, because with our previous weight room, the flow was not good at all, and it used to run me crazy. So I used to have one side of the room doing one thing, the other side of the room doing another. We had to flip it. Now all guys can stay in one location, and they can train and get everything they need in one location. That's the beauty of Sorinex and having their racks. I mean, it makes life easy on you as a strength coach. And then it allows you to program so many different things, man. You can completely be out of the box. Once again, it allows me, once I get to the season, I can use the jammer arms. I can use the J squat. I can use the trap bar, football. I mean, there's so many different bars and tools that I can use. And man, I'd be like a little kid in a candy shop as it pertains to programming, because I know I can make sure that I'm working around guys' limitations and work around the things that they actually need to allow them to perform. So it was a really cool process. And, Sore necks, man, they're top of the line. It doesn't get any better. There's a reason why I'm at Summer Strong every single year. They're great people. And one thing I do know about them, they're going to be honest. They're going to tell you the truth. And they've always been people of their word.
That's perfect. Yeah, because obviously, like Eric said, every time you bless us with the opportunity to come over there and train, and even though, yes, I'm right down the street, you tell me to come over there, I promise you I'll come over there some more. I'm just like, man, you walk in, and like you said, the biggest thing is the visual, the flow, but it's just like the colors and everything. It's just, you can't go wrong with red and black. But man, I think for that being my first kind of big D1 college football weight room to training, I'm like, man, these guys are spoiled because like I didn't I didn't get to see the old weight room. I just, saw some pictures online and everything. But I'm like, man, this is like I tell Eric all the time, like everything aside, these cable pulls, like Sorenex makes the smoothest cable. Like of all things in there, I'm most hype about the cables. Yeah, you did a great job with that.
Well, I appreciate it. I know when our former players come back, man, they are blown away. You have BJ Hill and Contavious Street and Bradley Chubb and those guys come back and they look at the weight room and then they look at the nutrition bar. I mean, the nutrition bar runs the length of the backside of the turf room. And I mean, the guys is like a store. When they leave, they're taking bars and they put stuff in their bag. And we use that turf area for massage therapy, for yoga. We have 2 turf areas. I mean, we have everything we need to actually develop these guys. And like you said, sometimes they don't appreciate and don't understand how good they have it until they go somewhere else or
That's
they go
right.
to the NFL. And they're like, man, our college weight room is better than this weight room in the
Yeah.
NFL. So it's pretty cool.
That's exactly how I was going to end it, Coach. You need to make sure these guys know it ain't like this everywhere because I've trained a lot of spots, and y'all are among the best. So please let them know that, Coach. This was amazing. Thank you for joining us. So much insight, so much knowledge. It's always great to see you, brother.
Most definitely. Well, I look forward to being back on the show once again, man.
Absolutely.
I'm proud of you guys.
Yes,
Proud
sir.
of you
Thank
guys
you.
for doing a great job.